Welcome. Today, we're diving into a massive true crime story. But we're not talking about bank robbers in ski masks or dramatic high speed chases. Oh no, we're talking about sophisticated labs, white collar criminals, and the quiet, systematic theft of billions of taxpayer dollars. The federal government has just launched a major new initiative to hunt down these fugitives, and the details of how these alleged scams actually operate are absolutely fascinating and pretty alarming. We're going to look strictly at the facts and the data released by the FBI and the Department of Justice to understand exactly how this works. $6.5 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. The Department of Justice recently unveiled charges in a sweeping healthcare fraud scheme that totals $6.5 billion. This isn't just some victimless crime, guys. This is taxpayer money being siphoned right out of federal benefit programs like Medicare. It's a massive drain on systems designed to help everyday Americans. And that sheer scale is exactly why the federal government is shifting its strategies and heavily prioritizing the capture of the people allegedly orchestrating these operations. Here's how we're breaking it all down today. First, we'll look at the new most wanted list. Second, we'll dissect the anatomy of the scam. Third, we'll meet the fugitives. And finally, we'll cover the multi-billion-dollar crackdown. All right, kicking things off with part one, the new most wanted. So we've all known about the FBI's legacy most wanted list for decades, right? Usually, it's reserved for violent criminals and highly dangerous fugitives. But earlier this month, the FBI and the Department of Justice totally flipped the script. They created a brand new Most Wanted Fraudsters list, which is a highly targeted list specifically designed to track down the top 10 alleged fraud criminals in the U.S. This is a massive shift in signaling. It shows that law enforcement is putting financial crimes, the theft of public funds, on the exact same pedestal of urgency as other major federal offenses. And man, this new strategy is moving incredibly fast. FBI Director Kash Patel actually jumped on the social media platform X to announce new targets for this list, pointing out that the Bureau had already captured 2 of them in just the first 2 weeks of the list's inception. It highlights a really aggressive, rapid-fire approach by the DOJ and the FBI to close the net around these individuals. But to understand why they're wanted so badly, we have to understand what they allegedly did. Which brings us to part 2. Anatomy of the scam. Let's look under the hood. Okay, before we get into the crazy mechanics of this, we need to understand the engine driving the whole operation, the healthcare kickback. Simply put, it's an illegal payment made in exchange for referring business that's then reimbursed by a federal program like Medicare. Essentially, it's a bribe. When healthcare decisions are driven by who's paying the biggest kickback instead of what a patient actually needs, the system totally breaks down. And we, the taxpayers, foot the bill. Keep this definition in mind because it's the absolute core of the allegations we're about to look at. So let's walk through this alleged heist step by step. It basically works like a giant self-sustaining loop. It starts with step 1. Marketers get DNA samples from patients. Step 2. A laboratory runs genetic tests on those samples. Often, these were cancer genetic tests. But here's the absolute kicker from the FBI. These tests were completely medically unnecessary. They often weren't even used for the patient's actual medical treatment. Step 3, the lab turns around and bills Medicare. And we're not talking small change here. The FBI notes these tests were reimbursed at anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 per sample. Finally, step 4, the lab takes that massive Medicare payout and funnels a cut right back to the marketers and doctors as illegal kickbacks, keeping the whole cycle going. Now that we know how the machine works, let's move to part 3. Meet the fugitives. The FBI recently slapped 2 specific laboratory owners onto this new most wanted fraudsters list, Emylee and Khalid Satary. According to the feds, Ty was charged back in 2022 for conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and paying kickbacks. Once a federal arrest warrant was issued, authorities believe she used a fake ID to flee the U.S. to Vietnam. On the flip side, you have Khalid Satary. He was indicted even earlier, back in 2019, on multiple counts including healthcare fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to launder monetary instruments. Interestingly, the FBI hasn't actually listed Satary's current whereabouts or whether he's fled the country, but both of them have been considered fugitives since 2022. Now, the scale of this alleged billing is just staggering. According to the Bureau, Emylee Ty's laboratory allegedly billed Medicare for around $142 million, and she personally pocketed about $95 million of that. But look at Khalid Satary. He is accused of billing Medicare for an astonishing $547 million between 2016 and 2019. If you put them together, just these 2 individuals are accused of defrauding the government out of nearly $700 million. That leads us right into our final section, Part 4, the multi-billion-dollar crackdown. To stop this massive drain, the federal government is rolling out a highly coordinated, multi-layered strategy. First, like we talked about, they launched the new FBI and DOJ Most Wanted Fraudsters list to put a giant public spotlight on top targets. Second, starting this year, the Trump administration tapped Vice President J.D. Vance to lead a brand new anti-fraud task force, explicitly aimed at targeting waste and abuse in federal benefit programs. And third, the DOJ is casting a really, really wide net. Just this week, they unveiled charges against more than 450 individuals connected to that $6.5 billion healthcare fraud scheme we mentioned at the very beginning. And the tone from the Department of Justice right now? Absolute zero tolerance. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche made it crystal clear at a recent news conference, saying, "This is just the beginning. Fraudsters can no longer rip off American taxpayers. If you seek to harm or cheat Americans, we will find you, seize any assets, and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law." It's a really definitive, climactic stance, showing that federal law enforcement is throwing all its weight at white-collar fraud. So here's where you come in. The FBI is actively asking for the public's help to close these specific cases, and they're putting some serious cash on the table, a $150,000 reward. That money is available for any information leading directly to the capture or conviction of either Emylee or Khalid Ahmed Satary. It really goes to show just how highly the Bureau values getting these two specific individuals off the streets and into a courtroom. Which brings us to the end. If anyone out there has information regarding these suspects, the FBI advises calling their tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We've just traced how a few people allegedly managed to siphon hundreds of millions of dollars out of a system designed to provide medical care to Americans, all using fake DNA tests and illegal kickbacks. But it really makes you wonder, if this is what just two fugitives were allegedly able to accomplish, just how much more invisible fraud is still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for joining me today, and keep your eyes open.